Hey all, how you doing? This is Dost-ism. So today we were down at the Portland protest, Labor Day protest against Trump, and the speaker was talking about, well, of course, labor and how the American worker is pinched by the billionaire class and by, of course, Trump's fascism that is taking immigrants that are here just to work and deporting them. And as she was talking, I'm ready to jump on my skin on this because I know why. I know what the problem is, and I really do know what the problem is, and it's our ignorance. It is something we can do about if we build a coalition. Well, first of all, we got to educate ourselves, and the problem is that we've been deceived by so much disinformation and misinformation going back decades that has taken our ball off taken our eye off the ball of where we really should kind of be paying attention, and where they don't want us to be paying attention. That's intellectual properties. And if we can come to understand that, we can build a coalition. We can I think, do some serious damage here as far as making some move forward forward movement. But of course, first we have to get rid of Trump. Okay, that's a given right now. We're not going to do anything until we get rid of Trump, and maybe this will help get rid of Trump. But we've got to, if we're going to protest, if we're going to claim that we want our freedoms and liberties back, then we damn well better know what we're talking about because we don't. And that's the problem. We've been dumbed down for so many years and to exist in a state of ignorance. And that's exactly what we do. We exist in a state of ignorance. We see a reality that's before us, that's painted for us, that we react to, reactionary to that. And what we don't do is we don't participate as we should. And we bitch and moan a lot about the politicians as we should. But we have to ask ourselves, what is our responsibility here? And I don't think anybody knows what that is. I don't think anybody realizes what that is. Um, and in the grand scheme of things, and the reason for this is because we don't have any knowledge of intellectual properties, and we've been made to be as far away from any having any inkling of knowledge of that whatsoever. Let me tell you something. Intellectual properties are very important. Intellectual properties is the capitalized name. I thought, oh my God, I just said capitalized name. Government flips out when you say that capitalized name. They don't like that. As a matter of fact, you try to do that with the IRS, and boy, they'll charge you with a criminal act, fraud, saying that capitalized name does not belong to the birth name, does not have anything to do with it. Well, they're lying. It's a fucking lie. It's a total lie. And but you mention that to anybody in government or try to do a filing against it, and they flip out. As a matter of fact, the idiots that were claiming as sovereign citizens about a decade ago or something like that. I think they went to jail. Which, of course, sovereign citizen is an oxymoron. Is the idiots that were claiming it were idiots because it's an oxymoron. You can't be. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't exist. It's an oxymoron. But they didn't understand that. But nonetheless, those people, other people who have tried to do make their own bonds and try to cash them through Treasury. Other people have all these schemes to try to cash in on that birth bond or that birth account. They don't like that. They don't like when you talk about that stuff. They don't like, and they certainly don't like when you talk about when you say sovereign, and they certainly don't like when you say straw man. And they insist that it doesn't exist. It's a fraud. It's misinformation. And I'm here to tell you, fuck you. It is not. It's the way it's presented. It's the way it's described, and it's the way that people go after it. But it is not a fraud. It does exist. As a matter of fact, here, I'll give you a perfect example. Straw man. Um, Here's an article right here. Um, See, it says right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll post it up on my site here. See, it says straw. What it says? It says straw man in real estate transactions. This is from, I believe, 1940, if I'm not mistaken, and it pretty much describes straw man here. It pretty much describes that it basically is, almost like your alter ego that they make the profits on, and you get stuck with all of that. And so Straw man does exist, except I never use it because for the very reason that you mentioned that to any government official, and they automatically think that, oh my God, this guy's one of those crazy lunatic sovereign citizens people. Um, but that's because they're afraid. It's the biggest trade secret that the government has. And that trade secret is that capitalized name and what it represents. And it's not that it has not been around for decades, for centuries, really. Maybe not in the form of a capitalized name, but there's always been that part that lives outside of yourself that goes back centuries, goes back to St. Thomas Aquinas before that. That part of your soul that is outside of yourself that has to do with the intelligence. It's the intelligence. That's exactly what that artificial person represents. It's intelligence of a higher wisdom, of higher high spiritual value as your soul relates to the universe. But I digress. Um, a capitalized name is it's of course pledged at birth. Now here's the thing about it. Artificial person, they say, it's not a corporation. Let me clear that up right now. Capitalized name is not a corporation. Kenneth William Dost is not in any articles of corporation anywhere. It is incorporated to and into the partnerships, the corporations of others, and government, of course. But it is not by and of itself a corporation. Now, of course, that corporation or I'm sorry, that artificial person can sue though. But whereas you and I don't have the standing per se, and that can own, the artificial person can own property, whereas you and I, natural person, don't own, can't own property. We can lease property. We can buy a pair of underwear and say we own that. But as far as real estate is concerned or anything of that nature, we're just a lesser. We're just a lesser. We're a lease. That's it. That's what we are. And but that capitalized name though, that was pledged her mother, and it goes in a lot of different directions. It is goes to the state and county, of course. They get their chunk of it. Goes to the government because what you're doing is it's being pledged into commerce and trade. And it goes and that artificial person is foreign and independent from the natural person because it's been separated by that pledge. And the reason why it's foreign is because it goes over into and is under the not eight was it 1888 or 1889 Paris Industrial Properties Protection Convention because it's intellectual property. Okay, and it also goes into other conventions under WIPO and other treaties under WIPO. There's just a lot of them. Okay. Again, I digress. I'm jumping ahead. What I want to get across to people is this: that artificial person, we have rights in that. Okay. We are the it belongs to us, but has been taken from us by an unqualified pledge and has been incorporated to and into, as I said, the partnerships, corporations, and of others. And that all comes out. Where's all that originate from? Well, it originates in patents and trademarks, of course, and it also is a copyright as well. And we'll save that topic for another day. But the point is it isn't intellectual property. Now, what is an artificial person? Um, it's a figment of somebody's imagination. And you hear a lot of people say, it doesn't exist. It's a fiction. No, dumbass, it exists. Everybody, I'm sorry, I didn't call it dumbass, but it does exist because it affects your life. I mean, it has a major effect on your life. It is I kind of look at it as like your evil twin because it's set up to do everything opposite the way that you would do if you had the knowledge. So if that's the case, if we have freedom and liberty, then how is this artificial person acting opposite than me? And speaking of that, if what the government says is true, that the artificial person doesn't work, how come the artificial person does exist? And how did it come into creation? How was it created? How is Kenneth William Dost artificial person created? It's created by that certificate of birth, right? And so it does exist. Well, wait a minute. Why is it if it's foreign and independent from me? What does that mean? Why don't I have rights in that thing? Uh, and you tell me that it doesn't exist and that's a fraud. Well, no, it's not really a fraud. What it is that pledge that our mother gave that gave it away was as contribution. that made us a surety and guarantor. Well, they get that. Well, that's given divine. That all capitalized name is seen as divine, whereas well, it kind of is to some degree because it does represent the intellectual soul. But the point here is that that is a property, personal property that belongs to us. And when it was taken from us, this, of course, intermediaries are stand between us and that name. Okay. And of course, another reason why it's foreign is because it is put into Admiralty Maritime and once in Commerce and Trade, right? But it's also how it's designated. It's designated as not so much an artificial person, but it actually has several different identities. But all in whole, it is considered industrial property that is put in manufacturing industry sector, and we're pieces, parts of a manufacturing process that never seems to become complete. And what I mean become complete is become whole, because the first person doesn't remember, it doesn't exist. It only exists in form only, has no matter whatsoever. Okay, so it's not a real person. It can't think for itself, except nowadays because of AI it can, and that's again we'll go on that. That's another subject, another topic, or another subject for another day. But it can't really think for itself. It's controlled, entirely controlled by others, that have stand between us and them. And it is patents and trademarks and copyrights, which is common law. Okay, it's common law. I'll tell you why it's common law. It's common law because that capitalized name is attached to thousands and thousands of trademarks, and as the collateral for those trademarks. More importantly, it's made the subject of thousands of automated patent processes that are imposed upon you and I, and as the subject of those patented processes, that artificial person, that capitalized name, is the collateral that is put up in that patent as a subject. And so, if that's the case, then well, why then shouldn't we get some like revenues from that, or why shouldn't we get some interest for like borrowing our name and using it as a subject? Why don't we see any of that? Well, of course, we don't see any of it because attorneys at law, fucking attorneys at law. I hate them. I can't stand them. And I should probably premise this. Let me premise and say that I am not an attorney. I've never gone to law school, but I do have 14 years studying patents and trademarks. So nothing I say here is it's just opinion, just my opinions. So it's not legal advice or anything. I'm giving you my opinions from what I've learned, and what I've learned is that the rule of law, let's put the rules in the rule of law are all immoral. They're immoral. I mean, they're it's a, it, the patents and trademarks is a crime scene warehouse. Let's put it that way. And it's the penumbra, or the shadow, that trade secret that we can't see because it's concealed from us, right? Because it's not disclosed to us. It speaks to us in terms of metaphysical type realm that is written into the Constitution and the Code that we just don't understand. It's written in Admiralty Maritime. It's written into transportation. It's written into like warehouses and telecommunications, so on and so forth. But nobody ever promulgated to you or I and said, "Hey, you know what? Guess what? That capitalized name. That capitalized name is yours." And all these pieces, parts that are out there, of this capitalized name, that they're kind of all working against you. They're working. They're opposed to what you would do if you had some knowledge. But because we don't have any knowledge, what happens? We're fucking piss poor broke, and at the expense, and well, the billionaires get rich, and it's exactly the problem. And so the assigner, so that capitalized name is the assigner that's under control of attorneys or whomever, and that gets added to the contracts, these patent and trademark agreements. That we put they'd say, well, they take a security interest, they take powers of attorney, they take irrevocable powers, they take unlimited licensing rights, and they say that the assignee, whoever that goes to, whether it be a bank or medical thing or whomever, insurance company, they get all the rights, title, and interests, the revenues, the profit sharing, and stocks, bonds, and everything else that the assigner, which would have been That's a capitalized name, which belongs to us, would have enjoyed had no assignment ever been made. Interesting, huh? And so when we talk about why don't we have universal health care? Capitalism. Yeah, because of capitalism. Because we've been lied to. We've been lied to. We've been made to exist in a state of ignorance. The reason why we are where we are now is because we're ignorant as shit. We have no idea what's going on. None. None. Instead, what we've got is we've got a population now that is at odds with one another. It hates the other side because Donald Trump is so discord amongst us, which was the intention. Which was the intention. And so, what I'm saying here is that we have every right to claim that capitalized name, to revoke these things. Now, of course, the rules in patents and trademarks, and of course the rules of the court and everything are a lot different. They don't. The court doesn't want to go near this thing, right? They don't want to go near it. They can't go near it. Why? Because the courts are operating under common law. And, well, they operate in statutory too, but as well as common law. Because this is an English. This is it's an English common law system. It's just Americanized. But it's common law. Common law is basically it's that middle person that's controlling the capitalized name or that intellectual soul, or controlling that your legal existence. Because you don't have a legal existence. You don't have the actual existence because of that pledge that our mother gave. Okay, and so these go into things that we'll go into in more depth here. But the point of this is that, you know what, if if I can convey to people, people can understand and grasp what that capitalized name means, and learn about these patents and trademarks and what they represent, and have a little bit of imagination in your mind, we can do something, I think. We have to do something because we can't go on like this. You know, we can't go on. And it's another thing I saw. It's the homeless people that they cleaned off the streets a few weeks ago. They're back. And it's sad. It's fucking sad. Why people got there, and I know how. Everybody says, they're junkies. They're junkies, and then yeah, but they may be. They're not all that though. And even if they are, they're still human beings. How'd they get there? What was their path there? We're all just one paycheck away from being on the streets. That's true. We got evicted, and it's just we lucky that we had a place to go. Otherwise, we've been on the streets as well. So we're all one paycheck away. And this is caused by patents and trademarks, by these hidden agreements that imposes these processes upon us that we have no idea are being imposed upon us, and because we don't understand what the capitalized name means. Okay, and it is it's a system that's run by patent attorneys. Patent attorneys basically, as far as I'm concerned, they rule the world because it's their agreements that are being written and drawn up on these patents and trademarks, and it's those agreements that bind us to these as a surety and guarantor, why they take all the profits. Plain and simple. But it's not as easy. I wish it was as easy as just revoking everything. It should be as easy as just revoking everything. The problem with it is that it's expanded so far now. Now, in one case, you could probably go to uh, um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? My mind just went blank. Probate. Thank you. Probate, and make some changes there. But here's the thing: we don't want the estate. We don't want the accounts. We don't want the stocks. We don't want the bonds because all those monies have been expended and it's not really us anyhow. And really, because everything is working against us. See, what happens is we're just guinea pigs for them. After we're born, we're made the subjects of their experiments, psychological experiments, all kinds of behavioral experiments, and that's really what this is all about. It's all about determining and judging, making future forecasts on our behavior patterns and how we're going to perform in life. Of course, they put it all to so we're judging class and everything, and so everything's risk management, right? It's all risk management, and we're destined to fail. Why are we destined to fail? Because we get scraps. We're getting scraps. We should be getting revenues. We should be getting royalties. We should be getting interest for them using our fucking name in these patents and trademarks, right? Really, we should. But now it's a little more complicated than that because and we're going through this, and this is what try to get people to understand. But if I can get people to understand what that capitalized name means, and as far as government's concerned, fuck you, you know. Um, these are things that um, we got screwed on. These are things that the government sold us out. They did. They sold us out, or at least a handful of those legislators sold us out to the business of banking, and for a couple of billions dollars, several $1 billion, and they gave our rights away. They put our rights in the hands of attorneys and intermediaries, and that we have no control over. We have no control over. So, what we have then is that capitalized name that's been separated from our upper lowercase, from our natural person, that we don't have access to. And so, if we have freedoms and liberties, how can we have freedoms and liberties when we can't enjoy the benefits of our labor? And I'm not talking about our physical labor. I'm talking about the labor of our existence. Okay, where do you think the capital comes from that the banks monetize? Where does that come from? It comes from us. It comes from us. It's harvesting our energy. And this goes into the metaphysics of it, but it's harvesting our energy. And it's also frequencies. And it's words are important here because we're talking about words of art. It's words of art. It's not legalese here. We're talking about words of art. Okay, the attorneys put it all the codes and statutes and everything, and they make it up into the legalese that we're held by. But I'll tell you one thing: there's no fucking jurisdiction on any of this stuff. There isn't. There's no jurisdiction on any of this stuff. I'll give you a perfect example: mortgage electronic registration systems, mortgage loans that we all that people that hundreds of million, hundred couple hundred million or 100 million people have signed, didn't not knowing that there's a hidden agreement attached to it. That's MERS Nations Bank Agreement that takes that all caps name and basically takes it for their own self-serving reasons, so they could do whatever they want with it, make money and profit on it. But what they're doing is they're building value to our state without us knowing about it. And then when they foreclose upon you and default, when they default you and foreclose upon you and have you evicted, then they cash out on that state while you're sitting there on the fucking curb. It's it's diabolical, people. It's diabolical. So, if we want to do something to save ourselves, save America, we got to ask ourselves, what is our responsibility here? What is our responsibility? There is a spiritual, I don't want to say religious aspect to this, but there is. And that's what the system's based on. The system's all based on this idea that the world works like a clock, but it was all created by a higher power, God. He created everything. He's the one that created everything. But as far as he's not in the picture anymore. As far as this, just as far as deism and theistic rationalism is concerned, he's not in the picture anymore, and we're kind of on our own here. But we can pray to him and whatnot. But he has no intervention at this point in time. Well, that's not true. If your faith if your faith realizes that the sanctifying grace, um, uh, uh, good morals, live more life, be good to other people, treat others as you would have yourself be treated. Um, but we've lost all morals. We don't have any morals. We don't have any morals because we've been made to exist in a state of ignorance, and we've allowed ourselves to be manipulated and deceived by people to into and hating government. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't hate government. I mean, I hate government. I can't stand the Democrats. I'm pissed at the Democrats. Very pissed at the Democrats and Republicans. Republicans have never been a party of the people. Never been. They're more concerned about taking that all caps name for themselves and making sure that you don't have any social services whatsoever. And isn't that not what's happening with Trump? He's taken everything and given us nothing. FEMA and all those things that is government services. He doesn't think we Republicans don't never thought we deserve. Democrats, on the other hand, are all about social programs. Democrats are about all of the government regulation, layers and layers of government regulation. It's endless. Trust me, it's very, very endless. It goes on forever. Um, but we have a responsibility in this, and that responsibility is what is the purpose? Why we're here? Why are we here? It's not about religion or anything. It's just about if God created us, we have faith in God. It doesn't matter whether you're what religion you are, but it's what your own personal faith and your own personal beliefs are. What is what's why are we here? We're here to live a good, happy life, right? Good and virtuous life. We're not here to live a shitty life and be enslaved by people. We're here. God put us here so that we can have a good life and that we live a good and virtuous life. And our goal and our duty and obligation is to try to attain that and to realize that God is to praise God. God is the one who did create us. God, we're here because of God, and we owe God to live a good and virtuous life and to be good to others. But how can we do that when there's this big number, this big secret between us, this wall here that we're controlled by, and we're in the sins of we suffer from the sins of ignorance. Okay, and I don't know if I want to broach this subject yet because it's going to be a difficult subject for a lot of people to take. So maybe I'll skip the religion part on this thing here. Yeah, I'll kind of skip that part right now. But realize our First Amendment freedom of religion doesn't really apply to whether we have Bibles in the schools, which of course is what all these things are: Bibles in schools or abortion or whatever. We got to remember something that laws are passed supposed to be for the good of the common good, the people, right? For the common good, not for any one individual, but for the common good. And what we're talking about, so we're part of this posterity that's just one big corporate body, right? The political body that is really consisting of a bunch of dumbass, ignorant human beings. They look like human beings, but they don't, they're not too intelligent because they don't know what the hell is going on. And that's true. We don't. So what we have then is a system where that controls us and puts us at odds with one another and that we're not really participating in. That's a problem. Um, because if we're not participating in it, we can't. Don't was saying it. For patents and trademarks, for instance, that capitalized name, we own that thing. That's ours. But because we don't know about it, we don't participate in it. Guess what? It's run and controlled by attorneys. And here's the thing: nothing that they do is hidden out there. None of this patent stuff is hidden. None of it is. None of it. It's all out there in the open. Just that we have to look for it. We have to have an inkling of knowledge to be able to find it and learn about it and gain intelligence about it, gain understanding about it. And that's what they're afraid of. That's why when you mention about the capitalized name, they freak out because they don't want they don't want you knowing about it. As a matter of fact, the people in government they don't even know about it. Well, I remember down here at several years ago going down to meet with somebody, chief of staff. I think it was chief of staff, secretary of state, because they wouldn't record my UCC and let me allow me to record the capitalized name and said, you can't do that. I said, yes, I can. I said, no, you can't. I said, yes, I can. No, we're not going to do it. Well, you violate my rights. Now other states, and I know I've had a friend in Illinois that had no problem doing it. So there's no uniformity there. There's ignorance everywhere. These people are just as ignorant as that is the homeless guy in the street. They really are because they're conditioned to go by the rules, right? No, nobody wants you to know what that capitalized name means. Because if you knew what it meant, you'd be basically retired. You'd be in good shape. You'd have the credit, you'd have the money, so you could do good things for people. So you can help people. Unlike what's being done with what Peter Thiel and all these people are doing, right? And so they don't. They're just as ignorant as the rest of us are. They have no clue. It's the how do you put it? And it's spread over all these different agencies, right? Pieces, parts over all these different agencies. And of course, all these different agencies they have to operate within their lane, right? So what do you have? You have say you have 10 agencies, and you got 1/10 of these things going down. They're 1/10 body parts and objects of yourself, and no 1/10 knows that the other 9/10 even really exist. They know they exist, but they have no clue that 1/10 that they have has anything to do with that there's 1/10 in every other agency, and then when you total them up, there's it's one whole 10, well, one whole person, and so they don't know that. So the system's been set up so that nobody can figure this stuff out. Well, I spent 14 years, and boy, I got stories to tell. And I look forward to telling them. And I hope people will join in. I hope people will become interested in this stuff because we got to do something. We can do something. We do have, but we have to come together. We have to come together as a coalition and push our rights that we have and push them hard. And that would be against our legislators, of course, but against the director of the United States Patent and Trademarks Office and them in general, and just enforcing our rights. So, anyhow, that's all I got for now. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and hope again. See you again. Thank you. Have a good night.